Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Podcast. Today is Thursday, June 13th, 2019. You ask, why are we playing this song? You know why? Because the St. Louis Blues are your 2019 Stanley Cup champions. 4-1 winners over the Boston Bruins in Game 7 to capture their first Stanley Cup in franchise history. What a moment for the city of St. Louis. They lose the Rams a few years ago. The Cardinals haven't really done anything in the postseason. The Blues have come close a couple times, and finally they come through. I'm so happy for this team. They got it going late in the first period on Ryan O'Reilly's 8th goal of the postseason, his 5th of the Stanley Cup final, assisted by Jay Baumeister and Alex Pietrangelo to put him up 1-0. Then Alex Pietrangelo's 3rd of the postseason with 8 seconds left to go in the period, assisted by Jaden Schwartz. 2-0 Blues. No goals in the second period. Good defense by both teams, and Jordan Binghamton was great. Third period, Braden Schen's 5th of the postseason, assisted by Vladimir Tarasenko and Jaden Schwartz. 3-0 Blues. That's when you felt like it was really over. Then Zach Sanford's 1st of the postseason to put it away, assisted by David Perron and Ryan O'Reilly to put the Blues up 4-0. Then a garbage time goal by the Bruins, Matt Grzelcyk, his 4th of the postseason, assisted by David Krejci. That goal came with Tuukka Rask pulled, and that made it a 4-1 game as the Blues, like I said, win their first Stanley Cup in franchise history. Your Conn Smythe winner was Ryan O'Reilly with 8 goals in the postseason, 5 of them in the Stanley Cup final. Postseason record for the Blues in terms of points in the postseason too for O'Reilly. And don't forget, O'Reilly was somebody that they acquired last year in a trade around draft time with the Sabres, and they sent their first round pick to the Sabres for this trade, and that is a trade that's well paid off, getting the Conn Smythe winner in a trade. You gotta give them credit for that. And then the guy they traded for last year came through with a goal, and that was Braden Schenn, who they acquired from Philly, and the pick that Philly got from them turned out to be a lottery pick, but that trade took a year really to pay off, as Schenn was a big part of the Blues Stanley Cup run. Obviously, Vladimir Tarasenko is their best player. He had a good playoffs. Jaden Schwartz scored a lot of goals in the postseason. Alex Pietrangelo was great. He finally gets a ring. He's their captain. And then obviously the rookie goaltender, Jordan Binghamton, who they brought in January, who really sparked this team to this run. So he deserves a lot of credit too. He was my pick before the series to win the Conn Smythe, but his awful performance in Game 3 really is what cost him the Conn Smythe, although O'Reilly is a deserving winner of the award too. And Binnington stopped 32 out of 33 shots last night to help the Blues win. And don't forget, the Bruins looked great in that first period, but Binnington was a brick wall. Like, he stopped everything the Bruins were throwing at him. And then the Blues got going, and then the Blues won the game there on out. And what a job by the Blues. Craig Berube obviously is their intern head coach. He'll be their full-time head coach starting next year. That's a guarantee pretty much. And it's funny because they fired their coach, Mike Yeo, mid-season, and then Berube comes in as their intern and is done sensational. And I'm very surprised that they haven't removed the intern tag yet. And they should. They can't make the same mistake the Capitals made last year with Barry Trotz and him walking away. So I think that the Blues will do the right thing and give Craig Berube a contract to be their next head coach in franchise history. And obviously, Gloria is the song that St. Louis plays after they win games. So, only fitting for me to play this song to open the podcast today. And obviously, on the flip side, the Bruins, this is a team that is in a win-now window. I think they're going to be aggressive in the offseason because they're the Bruins, and big market teams always like to be aggressive. They've done a good job building this team. I know this team won the Cup in 2011. Some of the same core guys I talked about with my buddy Derek last night, like Patrice Bergeron and Zdeno Chara, David Krejci, Brad Marchand, and obviously Marchand made a big mistake on that final possession of the first period, which led to that Pietrangelo goal, and that was a very, very costly mistake by Marchand, and he knows it too. And Tuukka Rask is somebody that is now 0-2 in the Stanley Cup Final, but he was great in this series. Anybody who blames him for the Bruins losing the series is just stupid. The Blues are just the better team this time around. And like I said, the Bruins will be back next year. My buddy and I talked about on the podcast yesterday how the East, I think 5 teams are almost certain to make the postseason. One of them is the Bruins, and the others are Tampa Bay, Toronto, the Capitals, and the Penguins. Derek's concerned about Pittsburgh, but I'm really not. They still have Crosby and Malkin, and they'll make necessary changes on defense and within their forward corps, and Matt Murray's the man there. And then the other 3 are wide open. I'm not positive that Carolina will be back, or the Islanders, or Columbus. And I think there's a chance all 3 miss next year. And then the teams that could be in there next year, like Florida, the Flyers, and maybe the Rangers or the Devils. Like, that wouldn't surprise me. And some other teams I think will be better be Montreal. They had a good year this past year despite not making the postseason. And that could be a team that could be in the postseason next year with a couple new young players coming into their lineups. I wouldn't rule out the Canadiens next year. I don't think Ottawa will be good next year. That's a team that's obviously rebuilding. Same can be said about the Red Wings, although I think they'll be a little better because they're the Red Wings, they're original 6, and they're a team that I think wants to compete a little bit. And I feel the same way about the Rangers as I do about the Red Wings, although I think the Rangers jumping to number 2 in the lottery really changed the outlook, short-term and long-term, of that franchise. So I think the Rangers lucked out with the lottery. And then meanwhile in the West, I think St. Louis will be back next year. They obviously are now the champs. And they're the best team. Vladimir Tarasenko's the best player. Jordan Binnington looks like a franchise goalie. And it's going to be interesting to see how they pay him because his contract is up since he's a restricted free agent. And I wonder how much they're going to give him. And so that's going to be interesting to watch. The Colorado Avalanche are a team that are going to be really, really good next year. I wouldn't rule them out. Heck, I think that's a team that can win the Cup next year. They're going to be really, really good. Another team that I think is going to be good, even though they're aging, but you can't rule out the San Jose Sharks. They have some young guys in their lineup. They have a good coach in Pete DeBoer. The Dallas Stars are an interesting team. Let's see if they bring back Matt Zuccarello. They obviously took the champs to 7 games in the second round. Nashville's going to be interesting. Do they trade PK Subban? These are questions that we're going to have to answer throughout the playoffs. I think the Vancouver Canucks are a team that wants to be better. The Chicago Blackhawks have missed the playoffs in back-to-back years. I think they're in a similar situation like the Rangers, in which they're trying to win a little bit. Although I think Chicago's more desperate because they're a team that's actually won before, and I think the Rangers are a team that they know they're in a rebuilding process, but they know at the same time that the jump to number 2 in the lottery really has changed their outlook going forward. So keep an eye out for Chicago to do something big potentially. Winnipeg might trade Jacob Trouba, so keep an eye out for that. Another team that's going to be interesting this offseason from the Western Conference is Arizona. They were a surprise team this past season, although they did not make the postseason. So keep an eye out for that team as well. What do the Oilers do? That's another interesting one. They obviously have Ken Holland running things there now, and that's another rebuilding team in the West that happens to employ the best player in the league in Connor McDavid. You have the 2 teams in the Los Angeles area, the Kings and Ducks, both rebuilding in the West. So this is an offseason of intrigue by all accounts. I'm going to try to get John Buchacross on next week before the draft, and we'll go pretty much team by team. Oh, and a team I forgot about is the Vegas Golden Knights. How could we forget about them? They're still going to be good. They have a lot of young kids that could be on that team next year. Like, they still have Marc-Andre Fleury, even though he's getting up there in age. They have a lot of good players on that team, so that's another team I wouldn't rule out doing something big at the draft to improve their chances. So don't rule out the Golden Knights by any stretch. So I'm going to try to get John Buchacross on next week. We'll go team by team and talk about possibilities for the offseason and whatnot. So we'll have that. Maybe we'll get one more hockey guest on. And obviously the NBA draft's next week too, so we'll get an NBA guest on next week as well. Either Josh Eberle, Ryan Berger. We're going to get somebody from NBA on to talk about the draft and stuff. Maybe Ryan Berger, because I had Eberle on recently. So we'll do that. And speaking of the NBA, we're going to switch over to there right now, as tonight is Game 6 of the NBA Finals between the Raptors and the Warriors. 9 o'clock, ABC. Mike Breen, Jeff Van Gundy, Mark Jackson, Doris Burke on the call. Golden State's favored by a small 2.5. Is that the right number? I think that's weird. I thought it was going to be 3. And I just have this gut feeling that Toronto is going to close them out tonight, because Toronto has been great on the road in the postseason. They've won so many big road games, such as Games 3 and Game 4 in the NBA Finals. They won Game 5 in Milwaukee. I think they're going to get it done tonight in the final game at Oracle Arena. And that crowd is obviously going to be emotional. Obviously, the Kevin Durant thing, the Warriors are going to play hard for him. I think it's going to be a great game. It's going to be the best game of the series, although Game 5 was great too, but there's still the emotion of Kevin Durant not being there. I think this game's going to be great. Steph Curry's going to be great. He'll keep the Warriors in it and make a push for Finals MVP. Kawhi Leonard, though, will be the best player on the court. As my buddy Derek Felix says, MV Kawhi. He'll get it done. I think Pascal Siakam will have a big game. I think Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka up front will be great. So give me the Raptors to close this thing out and win their first title in NBA history. Franchise history by a score of, let's go 110-109. 1-point game. I think Curry's going to try to hit a 3-pointer at the buzzer to force a Game 7, but he misses. Toronto hang on and win the championship. And Kyle Lowry will have a big game, as he's had a big NBA Finals too. So give me the Raptors and give me Kawhi for the Finals MVP tonight. And we'll talk about what's next for some teams in the NBA offseason tomorrow and then throughout next week. So now we'll move on to baseball. Go over scores from yesterday, look ahead to today's games. The Athletics defeat the Rays 6-2. Oakland goes back over 500, 35-34 on the year. Tampa drops to 41-26. They are no longer in first place after briefly being in first place. Liam Hendricks with the win, 3-0. The losing pitcher for Tampa, dropping to 2-2 on the year, is Adam Kolarek. Starting for Oakland was Brett Anderson. 6 in the third inning, 7 hits, 2 runs, a walk, and 4 strikeouts, rate 3.89. Yanni Chirinos started for Tampa. He was actually pretty good. 6 innings, 7 hits, 2 runs, a walk, 7 strikeouts, ERA 2.88. He's actually had a solid year for Tampa Bay. The Reds defeat the Indians 7-2 as Cleveland drops to 34-33. Cincinnati improves to 30-36. Anthony DeSclafani to win 3-3. Zach Plesac the loss 1-2. DeSclafani 5 2/3 innings, 4 hits, no run, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, ERA 4.43. Zach Plesac 5 1/3 innings, 5 hits, 4 runs, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts, ERA 2.92. The Cubs defeat the Rockies 10-1, so the Cubs salvage a game in Colorado. They're 38-29 in the year. Colorado drops to 35-32. Clamels gets the win 6-2. Antonio Senzatella the loss 5-5. Hamel 7 innings, 6 hits, no one runs, a walk, 9 strikeouts, ERA 2.98. He's been actually pretty good this year for the Cubs. Antonio Senzatella, meanwhile, 4 innings, 8 hits, 6 runs, 4 walks, 2 strikeouts, ERA 5.48. Red Sox over the Rangers 4-3 on a walk-off walk by Mookie Betts. Red Sox go back above 500. They're 35-34. Texas is 36-31. The biggest surprise in baseball so far through the first couple months of the season is definitely Texas. Matt Barnes gets the win. He's 3-1. Jesse Chavez lost 2-2. Rick Porcello started for Boston, 6-2 thirds innings, 5 hits, 2 runs, no walks, 6 strikeouts, ERA 4.69. Lance Lynn, 6 innings, 6 hits, 3 runs, a walk, 8 strikeouts, ERA 4.4. Diamondbacks over the Phillies, 2-0. Arizona improves to 36-33. Philly drops to 38-30. Merrill Kelly to win 7-6. Zach Eflin the last 6-6. Greg Holland gets his 10th save of the year. Kelly 7-2 thirds innings, 3 hits, no runs, no walks, 5 strikeouts, ERA 3.73. That's a good outing for him. Zach Eflin pitched very well. 8 innings, 5 hits, 2 runs, a walk, 9 strikeouts, ERA 2.81. Blue Jays over the Orioles 8-6. The Blue Jays are 24-43. Baltimore 24-46. Edwin Jackson the win, he's 1-4. David Hess the loss 1-9. Daniel Hudson gets his first save of the year. Derek Law was the opener for the Blue Jays. An inning, a hit, no runs, a walk, and no strikeouts, ERA 5.59. Edwin Jackson, 5 innings, 42 runs, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, ERA 10.22. David has 4 innings, 5 hits, 4 runs, 4 walks, 3 strikeouts, ERA an ugly 7.2. Marlins over the Cardinals 9-0. Marlins go to 24-42. St. Louis drops to 33-33. Getting the win in his debut for the Marlins, Jordan Yamamoto. And Miles Mikolas the last 4-7. Yamamoto, 7 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, an ERA of 0. Miles Mikolas, 5 innings, 8 hits, 5 runs, a walk, 4 strikeouts, ERA 4.83. Braves over the Pirates 8-7 on a walk-off by Ozzie Albies. Walk-off double. As Atlanta goes to 39-29. Pittsburgh drops to 30-37. Jordan Webb gets the win. He's 4-0 for the Braves. Jacob Webb. And Michael Felice gets the loss. He drops to 2-3. Mike Soroka, 5 innings, 10 hits, 5 runs, a walk, and 3 strikeouts, ERA 1.92. That was his worst start of the year. Mitch Keller, 3 innings, 10 hits, 6 runs, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, ERA 15.43. Yikes. Tigers over the Royals 3-2. The Tigers go to 25-39. Casey drops to 21-46. Noe Ramirez gets the win. He's 3-0. Jake Dykman the loss 0-3. Shane Green gets his 20th save of the season. Daniel Norris 5 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts, ERA 4.52. Danny Duffy 7 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts, ERA 4.38. Brewers over the Astros 6-3 in 14 innings. Go-ahead homer by Mike Moustakas, followed by a RBI single by Jesus Aguilar. Brewers are 39-29. Houston's 46-23. Adrian Houser to win. He's 2-1. Corbin Perez the loss 1-1. Starting for Milwaukee was Brandon Woodruff. 7 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts, ERA 3.87. Justin Verlander 7 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, no walks, 15 strikeouts, ERA 2.41. Verlander has to be the AL Cy Young favorite right now. Mariners over the Twins 9-6 in 10 innings. Big inning for the Mariners, a couple errors, which helped them out a little bit. 29-42 on the year. Minnesota's 44-22. The winning pitcher, Anthony Bass. The losing pitcher, Tyler Duffy. And Robbie Elias gets his 6th save of the year. The opener was Gerson Batista for the Mariners, an inning and a third, 2 hits. No one runs, a walk, and a strikeout, ERA 5.4. Tommy Malone, 6 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, no walks, 6 strikeouts, ERA 3.42. Jose Barrios, 6 2/3 innings, 7 hits and a run, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts, ERA 3.01. Giants over the Padres 4-2. The Giants are 28-38. San Diego is 33-35. Strawn Anderson, the win, he's 2-1. Joey Lucchesi, the loss, 5-4. Will Smith gets his 16th save of the year. Anderson, 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts, ERA 3.97. Lucchesi, 6 innings, 5 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts, ERA 4.11. Today's game's underway right now. Pirates, Braves. The last game of that series, Joe Musgrove against Julio Teheran. Mariners, Twins. Yusei Kikuchi against Michael Pineda. That looks like an over. 7 o'clock, Blue Jays, Orioles. Marcus Stroman and Gabriel Noah. Diamondbacks, Nationals. Zach Greinke and Eric Feed. Angels, Rays. Tyler Skaggs and Ryan Yarbrough. Cardinals, Mets. Jack Flaherty and Jacob deGrom. Rangers, Red Sox. Adrian Sampson and David Price. 8 o'clock, ESPN, Tigers, Royals from Omaha. Matt Boyd and Homer Bailey. First Major League game in the state of Nebraska. So we got a little bit of history here. I'm sure my buddy is going to be at that game who lives out in Omaha. So shout out to him. Hope he has a good time tonight in case he's going, which I assume he is. He's a big baseball fan. I'm going to take the Tigers here. Matt Boyd is somebody that is highly touted right now in terms of trade talks. And I think he's somebody that teams are going to look at. And somebody's going to overpay for potentially. And I think he's going to go out and pitch well against the subpar Royals lineup. So give me the Tigers in I'm going to say a low-scoring game. Wouldn't be surprised if it's higher scoring because Homer Bailey isn't that good. So I'm going to say like 6-3 Tigers win. At 8 o'clock as well, you have the Yankees and the White Sox. Jay Happ against Ivan Nova. So Nova, obviously, the ex-Yankee, going up against his former team. Padres against the Rockies, Matt Strahm and John Gray. And 10 o'clock, Cubs-Dodgers. That's a big series out in Los Angeles. John Lester and Clayton Kershaw. So the two best teams in the National League going head-to-head. I'm surprised that's not the ESPN game tonight, but I really understand why, because the Omaha thing's history, so... And I know ESPN likes getting historic things on their air. Before we move on to World Cup, something I wanted to bring up. San Diego Padres sent down stud rookie Chris Paddack to single A to limit his innings. I think this is a move that could potentially backfire and cost the Padres a playoff spot. That's my take. I wouldn't have done that. I would have faked an injury and put him on the IL like the Yankees are doing with Domingo Germán. That's another parallel, like a young starter that's been great. Just fake an injury. I would have much rather done that than send him to single A. And I think that Germán's injury isn't fake, by the way. I actually think that's a real thing. And it would explain why he's been struggling a little bit. But I just think that the Padres should have just made some fake injury up to not, make him look bad by getting him sent to single A. That's outrageous. I don't like that decision at all. And the Padres, a lot of people are going to be shaking their heads if they barely missed the playoffs. And they're like, oh, they shouldn't have sent down Chris Paddack. But at the same time, Chris Paddack has actually struggled in his last couple starts, including one at Yankee Stadium against a Yankees lineup that wasn't as healthy as it's supposed to be in a couple weeks from now. And he struggled a couple times after that, too. So it makes sense, but I still wouldn't have done it. I just think it was just a bump in the road, and I just would have put him on the IL, if anything, if I'm the Padres. So now we'll move on to the World Cup of Soccer, women's. As there's a couple games on today, a few were on yesterday. We'll pick tomorrow's games as well. So yesterday, Nigeria defeats South Korea by a score of 2-0. Kim Doyon gets Nigeria on the board with the first goal, and then Asayat Oshola puts them up 2-0, and that was it. Germany over Spain, 1-0. The lone goal scored by Sarah DeBreets. So I was right there. I was wrong about Nigeria, South Korea. France over Norway, 2-1. I was right there with France. The first goal scored by Valerie Gauvin to put France up 1-0. Then Wendy Renard ties it at 1 apiece. Then Eugene Le Sommer penalty kick gives France a 2-1 lead. Right now on Fox is Australia and Brazil. And at 3 o'clock on Fox is South Africa and China. I took Brazil to win the game that's on right now. And then I like China to win the second game. All right. 3 games tomorrow. 9 o'clock a.m., Japan and Scotland, Group D. Japan was in a draw in their first game, and Scotland lost to England. I'm going to say that Japan wins. I don't feel good about it, but that's my pick. Jamaica and Italy, 12 o'clock on Fox, Group C. Jamaica in their first game lost to Brazil by a score of 3-0, and Italy in their first game beat Australia by a score of 2-1. I like Italy here to win tomorrow. And at 3 o'clock on Fox, we have England and Argentina in Group D. England in their first game beat Scotland by a score of 2-1. And Argentina was in the 1-1, the 0-0 draw with Japan. So, tough call here, but I'm going to take England to win. And then we're going to pick the rest of the weekend's World Cup games on tomorrow's podcast. Before we do Best Bet, U.S. Open underway. This is going to be an interesting one. There's a lot of big names that are obviously in this. As of right now, Scott Piercy and John Rahm are tied for first with a -3. Tied for third, Eric Van Rooyen, Thorsborn Olsen, and Ricky Fowler, all with a -2. Other notables as of right now haven't gone yet. So you still obviously have so many big names. Zach Johnson, Rory McIlroy, Justin Thomas, Jason Day, Phil Mickelson, Dustin Johnson, who's the favorite to win. But my pick to win, Brooks Koepka. I think this is a man on a mission. He won the last competition. I think he wins this one. This is going to be his 3rd straight U.S. Open championship. He's perhaps the best golfer in the world right now. I'm obviously interested to see how Tiger does as well. Koepka's tee time is not until 4:47 Eastern. And Tiger doesn't go until 5, as well as Jordan Spieth, Justin Rose. So it's going to be a fun tournament, and we'll obviously be following around the podcast tomorrow. And like I said, I think Brooks Koepka wins, and I think Dustin Johnson is somebody that I think will have a good tournament. Last but not least, my best bet of the day brought to you by DraftKings. I'm going to go with China, the Braves, the Twins, the Red Sox, the Rays, and the Yankees. About 12.5 to 1. I only wagered 68 cents, payout of $9.15. That's it for the podcast today. I'll be back tomorrow recapping Game 6 of the NBA Finals. Maybe we're talking about Toronto winning their first championship. Or we're talking about Golden State forcing a Game 7. It's going to be very interesting. Obviously, baseball. I'm going to have 2 mock drafts for you. One for NBA, one for NHL, World Cup, U.S. Open, Best Bet, and any other news that happens around the world of sports. Hope you guys have a great day, everybody.